Be thou my vision, O Lord of my heart, not be all else to me, save that thou art, High King of heaven, thou art.
Hey, wanna play hide and clap?
Hey everyone, it's Corleone here, and I am here with a brand new movie review and episode 26 of Halloween Horror Movies 5, one of the last two episodes, no, not 5, 6. One of the last two episodes of Halloween Horror Review 6 we are on. And for that, this is going to be for none other than 1976's, oh, it's over there. Alright. Yeah, 1976's Carrie. The first film of Stephen King's books to get a movie adaptation, and was directed by legendary filmmaker Brian De Palma, who directed another one of my all-time favorite movies of cinema, Scarface. So what is the plot of Carrie? Well, if you're all familiar with the Stephen King novel, it's nearing the end of the school year. High school senior Carrie White is a social outcast because of her being unwise to the ways of the world based on her upbringing. Her mother, Margaret White, is a religious fanatic. Her extreme views primarily targeted against sex, which she believes is sin. Even these natural associated processes such as menstruation are a sin. About what she has refused to mention to Carrie. Miss White's beliefs were taken that extremely large because of her own failed marriage and her husband Ralph having run off with another woman. The only adult authority figure who tries to help Carrie is her PE teacher, Miss Collins, who nonetheless warns not to get too close to go against how Miss White chooses to raise Carrie. Miss White, whose beliefs are well known in the community. In a impromptu event that happens among Carrie's PE classmates, leads to her classmates being punished. One of them vows to get revenge against Carrie for that punishment, because basically she's now been suspended from prom for talking back, refusing to take part in her own punishment, and is now suspended and is not allowed at prom. One student, named Sue Snell, feels sorry for Carrie, wanting to help her get out of her shell. She asks her boyfriend to take Carrie to the senior prom instead of her. It doesn't sit well with Miss White, who in her extreme views believes Carrie will fall prey to sin, and competing issues lead to Carrie deciding on an impulse to use a newfound skill to free herself from the figure of chains that got placed around her with some tragic consequences. So, alright, about that. As for my reaction to Carrie, so, I remember first watching this back in high school back then. At first, I wasn't a big fan of it. I don't know, maybe back then I was just, in the high school days, I was just kind of in the moron stage. I wanted blood gore with his horror films, but now I'm an adult and I gave this a rewatch. Now I actually like this movie way better than I used to, and I can see exactly why it's like this. In a way. But how was Carrie made? So, it was based on King's first published novel, and Brian De Palma was intrigued by the story and pushed for the studio's permission to direct, while Sissy Spacek was encouraged by her husband to audition. It is the first of more than 100 film and television productions adapted from Stephen King. Yeah, so after Carrie was officially shot and completed, Carrie would go on to be theatrically released by United Artists and MGM on November 3rd, 1976. Carrie, when it released, became critically commercially successful, made over $33 million against its $1.8 million budget, got 2 nominations at the 49th Academy Awards. Best Actress for Sissy Spacek, and Best Supporting Actress for Laura. Critics and audience members easily cited as the best adaptation of the novel among the numerous films and shows that would adapt the story of the character. And it's also considered to this day one of the best films based on Stephen King's publications. And it's also known as one of Brian De Palma's best works. And it significantly influenced popular culture. Several publications regard one of the greatest horror films ever made. In 2008, it was ranked 86 on Empire's list of the 500 greatest movies of all time, ranked 15th on Entertainment Weekly's list of the 50 best high school movies, 46 on American Film Institute's 100 Years One Thrills. The prom scene even had a major influence on popular culture, got it ranked in Bravo's 2004 program 100 Scariest Movie Moments, and of course, The film was selected for reservation in the United States National Film Registry by the Library of Congress for being culturally, historically, or significant. Alright, so here are the good qualities in the story of Carrie. So, the reason why this is the best adaptation of the novel is because Brian De Palma directs this stylish adaptation of Stephen King's first novel, and it went on to become one of the best Stephen King adaptations ever made. Sissy Spacek's performance is definitely one of the greatest ever grace a horror film. It really perfectly embodies the typical school life of a high school outcast. And Sissy Spacek, some say she may have been too old for the role, but guess what? Guess what? The age does not matter with this role, okay? It does not. Sissy Spacek literally brings everyone the appalling lives that so many teenagers would be forced to tolerate in high school. From the opening scenes where Carrie is humiliated at the hands of her own cruel classmates, the Carrie's reaction to her first period in the shower, and the painfully wretched ending, like it becomes really nigh impossible, like to not to sympathize with Spacek's character, to want to sympathize with Spacek's character. Spacek was you can see why Spacek was so Oscar nominated for this performance. Her performance really enhanced fellow Oscar nominee Piper Laurie in the role of the religious nut Margaret White. Like the way it really shows towards Carrie like what's happened to her, and also terrifying to think like a lot of mothers like Margaret White could actually allow her daughter to go through such a horrendous a lot of their kids can go through a horrendous life in real life. Piper Laurie really makes this all-aberrant character her own with a convincing, unsettling performance. Brian De Palma cleverly directs this movie very well. And rather than just immediately introduce us to Carrie's powers, he focuses on the torment of Carrie and all the hell she goes through every single day at school first. It allows the viewer to feel for Carrie, and will her towards revenge on her tormentors, ensuring that she's not made into a one-dimensional killer, and it's very well paced, and it's presented in this very clear fashion. Brian De Palma does refrain from using a lot of visual effects, except for like the infamous prom night scene that comes around the end, and the final 20 minutes of Carrie, definitely some of the most intense and gripping moments to be portrayed in horror. I'll be getting to that in the finale. The scenes really help build one of the most artistic and incredible climaxes in all of cinema. The secret to the success of the film is due to the main character. Like you all know from the start, it's clear that Carrie is a victim. Victim of a wicked, crazy mother who mistreats her and carries on a permanent psychological terror. Or guess what? Not just that. Even at school, victim of cynical and selfish schoolmates who never think of any reasons, that only care about themselves, don't care about anybody else's problems. Like, there are pretty much reasons why she behaves this way. Never give her a chance to even integrate or socialize in school. And a victim of rare mental power that doesn't know well or know how to control. Like, Carrie's never a bad person or wicked being. She has no pleasure in the pain of others, but she's the one who suffers. And it causes strong empathy with the character, and some that at one you could just wish you could go into the movie and help yourself. Like some of us would. Like a lot of viewers wish they could actually go in and help Carrie themselves as soon as you start this film. The way it all ends, it gets filled with poetic justice that satisfies us. And sadly, we all know she'll never be understood by anyone. But Spacek is very extraordinary in her work as Carrie, and this is definitely her best role yet. She did continue to make other films, but Carrie was pretty much the role that really made her a big name in the acting industry for a little bit. It was kind of her most recognizable role. She gave the character psychological depth and drama, had the strength for some brutal scenes, especially because of their harsh, disturbing nature. Like the film features, it carried on well by Piper Laurie, Amy Irvine, and John Travolta in his first role. Now, the John Travolta back then that used to be cool, the John Travolta back then, the one who was actually cool and actually made good films, but like unlike the one nowadays who's a fucking whack job. The actually cool John Travolta we used to like in this film. Now, how do we start off the movie? So, we start off our story. Carrie White is 16 years old. Yeah, I know Spacek wasn't 16 years old when she played this role, but that doesn't matter. Okay, the age does not matter with this movie. But Carrie White, the character, is 16 years old. She's a shy high school student who is bullied by her peers for no reason because her peers don't care about anybody. They're pretty much, the sad thing is, her peers are pretty much a lot of teenagers today. Lots of them. A lot of the teens did quite a lot of teenagers. They are just as bad as half of Carrie's classmates in this movie. So when Carrie experiences her first period while showering after gym class, which I will admit, did we really need to have a 5-minute scene of just about all of them in the showers nude? Not really. No. I don't think we needed that. That could have been shortened. She then panics, and because she was never taught about this stuff, her female classmates basically take the pleasure to laugh and throw tampons until the gym teacher intervenes, furious with the rest of the class except for Carrie. So Carrie's sent home, and then Margaret, her abusive and religious mother, tells Carrie that her period is caused by sin and throws Carrie in the prayer closet to pray to God for forgiveness. And so, yeah, it pretty much establishes how much hell Carrie's life is. Not just at school, even at home. Like, she has no safe place to go. She's stuck in this shitty life. The next day at school, Miss Collins is furious with all Carrie's tormentors, especially Chris the most, who is played by Nancy Allen, who would actually later go on to play Lewis in the RoboCop films. And she reprimands them, punishes them with exercise detention, and if they try to back out, their tickets to prom will be revoked, and they will be suspended for 3 days. So, Chris, though, being the biggest brat of all of them, refuses and gets banned from the prom. Like, this scene, like, the scene where she gets kicked out is very satisfying here, is like, because basically, when she backs out, like, she backtalks to Miss Collins, you could take those minutes up your ass, and she's about to say ass, but then she immediately stops because she realizes now she's in big trouble and immediately is terrified. And like Collins storms up, and you want to know what Collins does? Storms up and smacks the shit out of her, and then she's pretty much reduced to a crying wreck. And I'm like, good. Yeah, good. Back when this was kind of normal. Like, good, yeah. Smack this brat. Like, this was satisfying to watch. And even the rest of like Chris's friends are all just frozen in terror. Like, if they were thinking about trying to back out of the detention as well, now they're not. Because they know they'll get the same treatment if they even try. The only one that feels bad is Sue. The rest of them don't really feel bad. They just want to keep their prom tickets. That's the thing. So they just stay in detention just so they can go to their prom. But Chris is now banned from prom, and she vows revenge. So maybe a little hope starts off there, but it doesn't last long. And much comment really gets to the portrayal of the white family. Both are portrayed so poignantly and logically. The mother you see this religious disturbed fanatic with all the expressions and shaky voice. Carrie, you see the bully girl with fear of the unknown, crave to get alone, apprehension for pain, and like the joy in being accepted, something she's trying to leer for. The highlight of the directing in Brian De Palma really lies, obviously, to the whole bloodstained scene and the build-up to the explosion. The audience gets led through all the emotions throughout the film, happiness to see nervous Carrie get treated well for a little bit, and then worry witnessing the voting trick, and some expiration as Carrie's not safe from public humiliation. Then, of course, you do have the one person that actually is sympathetic towards her from day one, as when the film starts, is Tommy. The one that Sue was going to go out with, but Sue decided to let Tommy take Carrie instead. But the thing is that you can tell he actually does like her. And Sue clearly was trying to help in this version. And this one, in this version of the 1976 film, you actually buy that Sue actually feels bad for what she did. In this version, you do. This time around, Tommy, is also a great character. When he's at the prom, he teaches Carrie how to dance, kiss her for the first time, actually makes her feel accepted. And then that bucket on the head and the prank sadly kills him at the end, but more on that later. Now, Sue, yeah, she started off as a bully as well. But then after that, she's the only one that really seemed like she didn't feel any regret the whole time. And because, even when Chris was being reprimanded, she was like, oh, shut up, Chris. Yeah, I'm with her on that. Shut up. That's the thing. At least, now we don't really see a lot of her in the film, but You can tell at least she did regret her actions. And this, like the Paul film, like we really see like he really does take well with the Hitchcock take like shape. Like he even has some of the whole, he even has a score from the shower scene of Psycho in one bit near the end of the film. And much of the camera work as editing is really reminiscent of the film Psycho. The musical score and credited like composer as original, like it's very recognizable as like together for the whole Psycho score as well. Like that gets used here. Like you can tell he has a lot of influence for Alfred Hitchcock in this movie. So Chris, the boyfriend Billy Nolan, played by John Travolta. Chris plots revenge against Carrie like one bit when she's out with Billy. She randomly mentions she hates Carrie, and Billy's confused because for one, he's obviously never met Carrie before. So he obviously doesn't know who she's talking about. And you can see Billy is also a POS. Because whenever his girlfriend cusses at him, he gets all offended by that and almost hits her a few times. Like, this guy's just as bad. Like, this guy's also an abusive piece of shit. Like, even this guy's just as bad as Chris. Yeah, like, he doesn't really know Carrie that well. I mean, he's never met Carrie. So, and he doesn't go to the same school as Chris. So, this is the first time he's really heard of her, but this scene also does establish that he's not as nice either. So, the two break in a farm. And they basically plan to slaughter one pig, drain their blood into a bucket, and they place the bucket above the school stage in the gym for prom night. Meanwhile, while Carrie's out of PE class for a little bit, she realizes she can control objects with her mind when she's upset. Like, she started finding this out when she got thrown into the prayer closet in the beginning of the film, and so she's now learning her abilities. She learns her abilities are a result of telekinesis and researches books on the subject. Now Sue asks her boyfriend Tommy Ross to invite Carrie to the prom. But Carrie at first thinks it's a prank and is hurt by this, but Tommy insists it's actually genuine, and so she, after a little while, eventually accepts. When she tells her mother she plans to attend the prom, at first her mother's like, no, you're not going to prom, you're going to never see that boy again. But Carrie starts to stand up to her mother, and she rebels when Margaret witnesses evidence of her daughter's powers and denounces Carrie as this witch. So during the prom, Chris and Billy, knowing that they're not welcome at prom, but they manage to sneak into the gym and they hide her at a stage while her best friend and other conspirators switch ballots to ensure Carrie wins the prom queen title, so, well, this prank can happen. And Carrie stands on stage with Tommy, and she starts to feel accepted by her peers. And you know what? This whole night is going so well. Tommy is teaching Carrie how to dance, in a way, actually, and she's actually starting to feel welcome among everybody else, and starting to feel accepted among the whole class. Everything seems to be going so right for her, finally. Like, this is the moment when this is all happening. But sadly, we all know that bucket is above them, and, well, that's the thing. Even though the votes are fake, she actually feels, like, genuinely surprised that she's actually just won prom queen. She actually thinks it's people actually voted for her and actually feels even more accepted. But Sue knows that Chris and Billy's plan and wants to intervene, but sadly, Miss Collins thinks Sue's trying to plot a prank against Carrie, throws her out of the room. And so, Chris and Billy, basically, knowing that Sue can't do anything to intervene, they're able to successfully douse Carrie in pig's blood before they have to sneak out of school because they know that they can get arrested if they're caught for doing something like this. And the empty bucket then hits Tommy on the head and then falls unconscious. Then, while one of Carrie's bullies laughs, you start to wonder, though, if this next scene is either they actually are laughing or the rest of them is just a hallucination. Because you can tell, obviously, Carrie's bullies are laughing, but you can see some of them look at one of Carrie's bullies just a little annoyed by that bully's reaction. But then the point is that some other students do start to laugh, but obviously, in this version, like, this version at least does kind of establish, that while some of them are laughing, everyone else, like, not everyone else is laughing. Like, the whole entire class laughing is just a hallucination. But Carrie thinks, like, that was everybody's plan. And you get this whole like well shot moments where her mother's words are echoing. They're all gonna laugh at you. They're all gonna laugh at you, and flashbacks to like some other quotes, and right there, just like the whole hallucination, like the point of view. It's a very well shot moment right there, because just when you had hope, sadly everything came crashing down. The pig's blood spill on Carrie, and guess what? The bucket hit Tommy on the head very bad, and it killed him. Sadly, which really sucks because Tommy's such a great character. He was the only one that really gave a shit about Carrie from day one. So sadly, everything goes to shit again. But however, now that she full on knows her powers, she is able to seal the exits off, and the students are attacked by a hose. Several are injured, several are killed, but sadly, the gym teacher, no, is it? No, oh yeah, the gym teacher does get killed in this version, sadly, but Norma and several of Carrie's bullies are killed. And this whole basketball backboard crushes Miss Collins when they attempt to carry Tommy's body, and this is the one part I don't really agree with. Like, the thing is, like, she kills her principal and the gym teacher, but those two didn't treat Carrie like garbage. Those two didn't, so why kill them? Look, I may not be the fan of the 2013 remake, but one thing the 2013 remake does do is that at least she doesn't kill the gym teacher in the remake. So why that couldn't be in this version? You know, why couldn't they spare the gym teacher in this version? I kind of hate they went with that idea. But it doesn't stop me from hating the film, because I love the film. But the gym is set on fire, and she exits the burning school and seals the doors behind her, and so everyone is left to die. And Carrie walks home. Chris, Billy, who are trying to basically flee, they see her and they attempt to run her over, but Carrie causes the car to swerve and roll over. And Carrie ruptures the gas tank, and the car explodes, and Chris and Billy are killed. So, while Chris and Billy do die and get their desserts, I feel this death was anticlimactic. Because the car just swerves, and she just ignites the gas tank, and they're just really kind of dead too quick. I kind of wish they got a much grislier death, to be fair. I know I don't care if some people think I'm being harsh for saying that, but I kind of wish these two got a much more gnarlier death. Because they were the worst of all of them. Of all the students, they were the worst. They were the most evil. They were the ones who caused the prank. They're the ones that should have got they're the ones that really should have got the gym teacher's death. Instead, I wish that happened. But they do die. At least they do get their desserts and they die. What the film really does in a manner is display empathy for the viewer. You really root for Carrie with her meaningless, shitty life, hoping at any point she can catch a break, and when she thinks she is, and Sally gets ripped away because Chris whined because she can't go to prom and can't face punishment for what she did. And breaking away from the plot, like, the prom scene is an absolute masterpiece. Like, this is a scene that's pretty much referenced in almost a lot of pop culture these days, and it's become such an iconic moment in cinema. And the way Brian De Palma really takes the time to set up everything for the prom sequence is astonishing. The shift is brilliant. He really manages to make a teenage drama with horror and some like small bits and heart in the central character. The fantastic ways he explores bullying and puberty together with these demonic powers. Like, he develops everything so well. Like, even the ending really grips our emotions, and we're empathetic with the characters. And of course, like, it starts from a sad ending to an also scary ending that I'm going to mention in a little bit. So Carrie goes back home, bathes herself at home. Then it turns out Margaret was there, like, behind the bathroom door the whole time once Carrie comes out. And Margaret reveals that Carrie once conceived when her husband was drunk, an act Margaret admits she enjoyed. And at first it seemed like her mother's comforting her, but then, of course, out of nowhere, Margaret picks up this knife, stabs Carrie in the back with it. And Carrie then sends knives flying towards Margaret, kills her abusive mom, and then she destroys the house, and she also dies in the prayer closet with her mother's body. Another thing I forgot to mention about the film, the score of the film, the music score. Pino Donagio's score is very important to the film's success. The score is beautiful, it's dreamy, it's also even romantic when it needs to be. Carrie and her mother really have this, well, let me top this mournful for Carrie, and of course this pounding piano for Mom. And like during the prom, the score really fluctuates from silent to foreboding and building tension. When the actual massacre is happening, like the score is not even in the background. It really treats the violence starkly and honestly. With the whole smartly written story, like, because like that's the thing, there is no real villain, there is no bad guy, there is no slasher killer. Carrie did what she did out of rage. Chris was really, and it all happened because Chris didn't want to face punishment. Chris was too much of a spoiled brat to admit her wrongdoings. Carrie's mother was overly, obviously unstable, disturbed, religious fanatic, who thought she was trying to protect her daughter, but really it only made her daughter's life worse. And Brian De Palma just does well in keeping what is needed from the novel, making a decision like, and sure, we'll move some stuff that could have probably bogged the adaptation down, but it's paced well. We do get to learn that Carrie has powers after the shower scene, and even develops those moments at a good pace. And we see that she's finally had enough of the bullying, and it actually makes the whole finale feel earned. So now that I mentioned the finale, we get on with the finale now. So it turns out everybody died in the school. Sue is the only one who survived. And she's now pretty much in this coma, and her mother gets this phone call, and we find out apparently that Sue couldn't go to the funerals. Her mother wouldn't let her go to the funerals. The whole class was gone. And now we get this like little sad theme playing in the background where Sue's having this nightmare that she goes to lay flowers on Charmaine's and Carrie's home. And sadly, guess what? Some people on the other hand, are even pretty much writing Carrie White burns in hell in her own grave on this for sale sign. And you get this sad theme that plays in the background. And it's a very sad theme, and it makes this such a sad ending for a little bit. Like, Sue's walking to the grave, and she places the flowers on Carrie's grave with tears in her eyes. Like, that's such a well-scored shot. Like, I tear up every time I watch that scene. It's beautifully scored, it's beautifully filmed. You feel the heartbreak in Sue's eyes, and even feeling like she pretty much blames herself for causing Carrie's death. Now, and pretty much causing her boyfriend's death. Right there, and then out of nowhere, just as like you're having the tears in your eyes, it becomes a scary ending. Because when this is happening, Carrie's bloody arm reaches from the rubble out of nowhere. And when this is happening, grabs Sue's arm out of nowhere, comes out of the ground. Like that whole theme song playing in the background, wakes up screaming, her mother tries to comfort her. It's all right, I'm right here. And like that's just how it hauntingly ends. Just like that. All of Carrie's class perish at the prom. Tommy, Miss Collins, Norma, the principal, all of Carrie's other bullies, Chris and Billy, killed outside by Carrie. Carrie then seeks comfort from her mother, but then she got stabbed in the back, and Carrie killed her in self-defense as well. Her powers go haywire, bring the house crashing down on her. And then we catch up with Sue. She now has nightmares and PTSD, and she's never going to be the same again. Going to blame herself for Carrie's death. With that whole dream sequence we had, it's a very haunting and very heartbreaking ending at the same time. It was a perfect way to wrap it up. And then, 20 years later, they made Carrie 2 The Rage, or The Rage Carrie 2, which fucking sucks. So now do I have any bad qualities with The Rage Carrie? No, not The Rage Carrie 2. I'm talking about the good movie. Do I have any bad qualities with Carrie? So, the bad qualities I have with Carrie are the opening nudity shower scene. Yeah, that was not warranted. We did not need that. I don't like she kills the gym teacher in this version that actually sympathized with her, didn't really do anything bad to her at all. Chris and Billy's deaths could have been better. Honestly, I felt their deaths were too abrupt. But other than those, Carrie, it's a sad horror masterpiece in cinema. And it's definitely worth a watch for horror buffs and ones who want to see one of Stephen King's best adaptations. So in the end, I would totally watch it by Carrie for your collection for sure, no doubt, if you want to see one of Stephen King's best adaptations. Anyways, that's it for my review of Carrie. If you want to rank Carrie, here's how I'm going to rank this movie. So overall, if you want to see what many consider one of Stephen King's best stories adapted to the big screen by legendary filmmaker Brian De Palma, then I would totally watch it. Buy Carrie for your collection for sure, no doubt. And if we're going to rank Carrie, I'm going to give Carrie a 9 out of 10. Alright, there we go, guys. Time to put Carrie back on the shelf. Alright, you go there. And you're wondering, why did this suddenly change all black and white for the outro? Well, because. That's because the review that's going to close out Halloween Horror Review 6 is going to be for a black and white movie. And this one was also requested by Wanzel Pictures. We're going back in time to the 1950s. Back when there was no color in horror movies. Back when we were known for horror movie monsters. We're going back to close it out. We are going back to the age of Universal movie monsters. And it's going to be also in a way leading into what will season 7 be next year. Starting off with, we're going back in time to the swamp in the Amazon. The time of the creature from the Black Lagoon. The swamp monster. Yeah. That's going to be the send-off to Halloween Horror Review 6 for this year. So, tell me in the comments down below what you guys think about Carrie, whether you also really love this movie or whether you think you're just not too big of a fan of this movie. And until then, guys, that will be it for this review. Thank you all for watching, and if you like this and want to see more, don't forget to like and subscribe to Don G. Corleone.